Hi guys, back to working on the break, and you should too, Scooby, because when you hit the pros, this is what's going to separate you. They can all run out, they can all run out consistently, but they can't all consistently break good. So therefore, they can't consistently stay in control of the table and therefore the match. So, if you're looking to get out there and grind with the big dogs one day and you're looking for an edge, this is going to be your edge. There's 5 things you're looking to do with the break, and it's all happening at once. You can say that one thing is more important than the other thing, but they all work hand in hand and they're all very, very important. So that's 5 things you're doing with one shot, and that's what makes it so dang difficult. You want to park the cue ball in the center of the table because the closer you can get to the center of the table, the higher your chances are going to be of having a clean, clear shot on the one ball. And speaking of the one ball, you want it to come back up table and park itself near the corner pocket. Now, which corner pocket depends on what side of the table you're breaking from. If you're breaking from the left-hand side of the table, that one ball should be coming up near the corner pocket on the top right. If you're breaking from the right-hand side of the table, that one ball should be coming up and parking itself near the top left-hand corner. And on this night, I switched. Usually, I break from the left-hand side of the table, and that's why when you watch my videos, the one ball's always up there somewhere by the right-hand corner pocket at the top of the table. But on this night, I realized that the table conditions have changed a little bit, and the breaking spot is now on the right-hand side of the table. So on this night, most of my opening shots will be toward the top left-hand side of the table, which is where, of course, the one ball is going to be. So that's 2 things. Park the cue ball in the center of the table and get the one ball up table by a corner pocket. The third thing is to make that wing ball, and again, which wing ball depends on what side of the table you're breaking from. If you're breaking from the left-hand side of the table, you're looking to make the wing ball on the left-hand side of the rack, and in this case, it would be the 3 ball. If you're breaking on the right-hand side of the table, the wing ball would be that orange ball or the 5 ball, and you're looking to make it in this corner pocket. And of course, you have to make a ball. I mean, if you break great and the balls are all over the table and spread out nicely, and you park the cue ball in the center of the table and you got the one ball down there by the corner pocket, all you've done, if you break dry, is do your opponent a massive favor. Now he's got an easy run out, and you're sitting in your chair watching him play pool. And speaking of balls being spread out on the table, that's what you're looking for. The further apart you can get all the balls on the table, the better off you're going to be. Now, a lot of that is just out of your control, but that's your objective, to get the balls spread out nicely on the table. All of this has to be done with the 5th thing, which is doing it legally. And more tournaments nowadays are playing 3 balls half to pass the head string on the break, and this eliminates the soft break. And the head string is aligned at the top of the table where most players break from. There's 2 diamonds up from the top rail across the table, and that area is called the kitchen. Some guys break from below the head string, but you get the point. You have to get 3 balls from the rack over that head string, and that does not include the cue ball. But if you make a ball on the break, only 2 balls have to pass the head string. If you make 2 balls on the break, only 1 ball has to pass the head string. And if you make 3 balls on the break, no balls have to pass the head string. So on this day, I would work on nothing but my break for about a half hour, and instead of going through the mundane task of racking the balls, breaking and racking and breaking, racking and breaking for hours and hours, I would break it up and just go back to my usual routine of running racks. And I would do that for about a half hour, and then I'd go back to working on nothing but the brake. There have been days when I worked nonstop on my brake for hours and hours, and I wound up a little bit better of a brake, but with an aching back. And you know, after 4 hours, you start getting sick of it, and so you don't want to associate negative things with playing pool. You want to be out there doing it and enjoying doing it. Yeah, that wasn't the best break in the world. The cue ball got away from me a little bit, but it's quite runnable. And I made two balls on the break. One was the wing ball, which was the 5, and the other one was the 8 ball. So this shouldn't pose any sort of problem here. 9 balls, just a hair off the rail, so that could pose an issue. But you're going to see we run into a self-created problem here. I'll show you what I mean in a little bit. Yeah, I'm playing a line for the top left-hand corner here. And I believe I have to cut, I'm drawing this back down table a little bit to get right on the 6. But yeah, I wasn't exactly straight in. And this, I could go 3 rails on this and come back to shoot the 7 in the side, but I'm sticking with Earl Strickland and always shoot to get corner pocket shots. And the problem with how we wound up is I'm exactly straight in, and I mean exactly straight in. And I could draw this all the way down to the bottom round, bounce off to get right on the 9. Or I could roll up to get further away from the 9. I chose to stop the cue ball and take an extremely tough shot. This is really going to call for both eyesight and a stroke. So depending on how you're feeling, that's a crazy shot there. But I had to go for it. I could have banked it, but it was too close to the rail for my liking, and I just had to come with it there. We'll analyze these racks after the rack is over, just like we always do. Most of the night was dedicated to the break, but you gotta have some kind of fun here. I mean, how much? I've already covered the break in minute detail in some other videos. I have changed some things, but we'll get to that in another video. When I start nailing it consistently, like 90% of the time, that's when I'm dialed in and let you guys know how I'm doing it. And I'm also noticing that Tony Moget stands creeping its way back into my game as my confidence continues to rise a little bit at a time. You know, I'm feeling more comfortable with the Moget stance, and it works for him. So I just like the fact that I can consistently have a straight stroke with that stance, and I'll show you what I mean if it comes up in this video. We broke dry there, so this part is over. So here's the big problem with losing control of the cue ball on the break. If that cue ball was center table, we'd have a whole lot of options to get from the 1 to the 2, and we could easily control the beginning of this game. When you let the cue ball loose and it winds up at the top of the table like it is now, or worse, the bottom of the table, you're kind of stuck with whatever the table has the mercy to give you, and you don't want to be put in that circumstance. You want to control the game from the break to the end. So now, I mean, we have a choice to play safe, to push out, or to go for it, and I have to go for it. The problem is the only shot I have on this 1 ball is to shoot it on the bottom left-hand corner and roll up to here on the 2 ball, which is a difficult cut shot to get right on the 3. So if 9 ball is all about getting a good start, then you want to give yourself the greatest odds of getting started correctly and not being at the mercy of whatever the table gives you. So we shoot the 1 down in this corner. We wound up here, and we have to shoot a tough cut shot on the 2 to get right on the 3, and then when shooting the 3, we're bouncing off on the 4, and I get a little too far on the left side of the 4, which is really, no big deal. I can handle all that. but it could have been a whole lot easier. The real problem comes with the second half of the game. And here's what we have, and it is an option to spin this cue ball down table and go 3 rails, but there's a lot of problems with that, and it's recommended not to do that by some of the greatest players in the world. You could hit the 9 ball, you could come up long, you could come up short, you could have all kinds of problems on this shot. So a better idea is just to go to the right-hand side rail and bounce off to get on the left-hand side of the 7 ball line. And here's where you want to get. The problem I had is I went too far and I wound up straight in and on the 7 ball line, leaving me little choice. I mean, I could roll up to have a longer shot on the 9, but it's still a hard shot. Or I could really juice the hell out of it and draw it back to the bottom round and then bounce back up for shape on the 9 ball. Instead, I choose to play it safe and just hit a stop shot, but look what I'm left with, and this is an extremely difficult shot, and I had to bring out my A game to pull it off, but you don't want to be under this kind of stress during any kind of match. So, I mean, what can I say? I goofed up and I got on the line. Just make sure you stay on the left-hand side of the line so you can just stun the ball over and get right on the 9 ball. Alright, here we go for another one. Let's see how the break works out in this one. You can see I'm breaking from the right side of the table, but it's not way over to the right. It's just, if you looked at center table from the head string, I'm only about 2 inches to the right hand side. And it looks like I made the wing ball, which was the 6 ball, and the 9 ball. So that does count as a pack in my world. Making a 9 on the break does count as a game. So I'm choosing to spot the 9 and just go ahead and continue with the rack, because it was a pretty good break. It's not exactly center table. I don't know if it got banged over or I just didn't hit it perfect, but it wasn't bad. That's a 2 ball down there, and this is dangerous because you have to hold up and not get behind that 7. You're flirting with disaster there. A better idea is to hit the left-hand side round, bounce off to get right on that 3 ball. And that 3 ball wound up wiping its feet before going into the pocket, and now I'm left with a combination. So none of that would have happened if I got right on the 3 ball. But here we are. I mean, it's, now I'm just going down to the bottom round, bouncing off to get right, but I have to stay on the left-hand side of the 5 ball, which I don't think I do. And I just chose to stop. I must have got straight in. There's that Mojay stance, and I'll talk more about that in some coming videos because it starts coming up a lot here. And I played the line on the 9 ball, but I just barely got off the rail. So this is a real stroke tester, this shot right here. But it is what it is, and I shot it good and kept a straight stroke, and everything was groovy on that one. Now, I believe I break dry. I hate to ruin the ending of it for you, but it is what it is. Another dry break, and it's always, yeah, that's a 2-pack. That wasn't a peace sign. That was me telling you I'm on 2 and going for 7. That's what that was. And naturally, I get stopped by the break. It's always the break. Doesn't matter how good you're shooting. If you can't break consistently great, you're going to get stopped in your tracks, homie. Yeah, the keyboard's going over to the left-hand side of the table, which tells me I'm hitting the one ball just a hair to the left and not dead center. And paid the price for it too. Came up dry. Let's go ahead and analyze that one. On the two ball shot, I chose to shoot a drag bottom left hand draw shot. Yeah, that's a mouthful right there. And what happened was the drag is to slow the cue ball down. And I wound up exactly where the cue ball is right now. And you can see we're on the left hand side of the three ball. And that forces me to go to the right hand side rail and shoot a combination on the 4-7. If we had forgotten all about the drag and just let my stroke out and just bounce off the left-hand side rail to get right on the 3, it wouldn't matter if we got a little bit on the right-hand side of the 3, and we could still get a clear pocket for that 4 ball. It wouldn't be any problem. But we chose to kind of do surgery on that shot, and it worked out, but you can't really count on that, and you don't want to be walking on eggshells in the beginning or the end of a pool game. And if we go on to the end of the game, I wound up with a pretty full hit on the 8 ball because I had to shoot a stop shot on the 7. I got 2 straight in on the 7. And I wind up here on the 8, and I'm putting top right hand English on this to come off both the top rail and the left hand side rail to play into the line on the 9 ball. The problem was it was such a full hit that it took all the momentum of the cue ball, and we almost got on the rail. We're not too far off the rail here. And now I really have to come with it again on the 9 ball. And folks, you don't want all this pressure, especially on a 9 ball shot. So I have to come with it again, and I make it again. But this kind of stuff's gonna make you old like me, man. Don't put yourself in this position. All I had to do was shoot that with a little more top or a little bit harder, and I would have been fine and straight in on the 9 ball. So take it for what it's worth. It's a big lesson here. Don't get bad on the 9 ball. Yeah, I haven't eaten from Taco Bell in probably close to 2 years. And before that, I gave them like 5 chances to start getting their act together, but it was dreadful all 5 times. So I just stopped going there, stopped even thinking about it. So they changed something, and the morale at the store I was going to was real low. And I don't blame the employees, I blame the management and the owners. I mean, if they paid these folks a decent wage, their job would be more important to them than, another dime a dozen minimum wage jobs. So you have to hold management responsible. Anyway, I got the $5 Chalupa Cravings box, and I'm not even sure what's in it. But, of course, the sauce to go to is Diablo. I guess let's start with the chalupa. They give you a lot of food out there. Have to give them that. I'm working on a computer if you wonder why my eyes are going over there. Yeah, so Chalupa Supreme, Burrito Supreme, soft taco, and cinnamon twist. Yeah, the chalupa was good. The burrito was okay. And what was the other thing? The soft taco was just okay. Cinnamon twist, they are what they are. Iced tea was pretty good. I only gave it 1 thumbs up, and that's being a little generous. It's Taco Bell, you take what they give you.